This is Hot Mike.
Hot Mike.
On the networks of WDAY.
WDAY.
Here's Dom Izzo. It's that time. An author.
Offensive production, number 1. Number 2, I forgot.
Golfer.
It'd be like going on a three-person best shot, and we were saying, Kolpack, you got to make a 25-footer every time. You wouldn't putt first. I'd have Tim putt first.
And one heck of a TV personality.
This game is for the Cooper Cup.
It's the Forum's Jeff Kolpack.
4! I should have yelled 2.
Here he is, folks, on a Monday morning. I just got done with my daily orange. Is there a fruit you go to?
Bananas.
See, I did with bananas, but I'm off them now. I've had them for like 2 months straight. And
Why?
like I gotta, because they're just, after a certain while, there's no taste for me anymore.
Boy, there's a
you know?
wow factor starting out. We're talking about oranges and bananas and
Apples. Is there a fruit that's off the table? Like, no, no way. I'm not tasting that.
I try not to, no, because they're very
Good
important for you.
Yeah, you got to.
Yeah.
So I was telling my son, we were at the store yesterday.
So I'm reading this book called 1 Year Younger, which is for those of us approaching our age. You try to, it teaches you how to take care of yourself and be 1 year younger next year is what it is. I think it's a New York Times bestseller. Certainly better than my pretzels book. I know it's and North Dakota Tough. And
well, we can do this because your birthday and my birthday are back to back next week. Very exciting on that. You're
but
turning
anyway,
48,
it says we vastly underestimate the power of vegetables.
Oh well, there's no doubt about that.
Yep.
That's
all I got. Let's get out of here.
We got some hoops to talk about. You asked me off air, how long are we going to be in Stu Falls?
I don't know.
What's the under-over on that? What do you want to go with?
With Jackson Money out, we think out. We don't know, I guess.
The rumors are saying, and I'll say rumors are it's a broken wrist. And if that's accurate, then he's not playing.
But he was high-fiving, and yes, people, I mean,
here's our video. There's no splint, there's no cast, and he's holding his daughter there when he came out for senior night. This was on Wednesday. I mean, can you tape it up and play, Jeff? I don't know. And then what's the risk beyond that? He's got professional aspirations that go long beyond the Summer League tournament here. That's the question.
Right. So if he doesn't play, then it's really going to be a tough
slog.
Deal.
Yep.
He may get by South Dakota. You may. But then you probably have Omaha, and without Jackson, that's going to be a tough matchup. The women's side, maybe not. Kansas City plays them tough, and so they're tough defensively. And if the Bison showed some limitations against the press little bit late in the game on Saturday against Omaha, so if I were Kansas City, I would go full court.
Yeah, and I'm sure
94.
That's going to. Let's show the men's bracket first. So Omaha won the regular season title. First time that's ever happened. Got to give a shout-out to Chris Crutchfield. Omaha was picked 8th in the preseason poll. They won the league, and they did it with guys that stuck around, too.
Yeah, that's what we have in this day and age of the portal. I know they're 8th, but how do you know when you're doing a poll?
You don't.
You have no idea, really. It's such a come-and-go league now that it's just predicting in November, October.
It's blindfold. That's what I told the commissioner when we were down there.
It's meaningless poll.
Well, it's not meaningless if you end up winning it. Like if you're picked 8th and you win it, like Omaha did, then it's not a meaningless deal. So they'll play the winner of Oral Roberts, Kansas City. That is the play-in game on Wednesday night. St. Thomas earns the 2 seed. They'll play Denver. Denver routed the Jacks, Jeffrey, on Saturday afternoon in Denver, and we have to make this known. Jeff Wilburn, their head coach, is not coaching. He's on administrative leave. We don't really know what's going on with the Denver coaching situation right now. South Dakota State ends up being the 3. They'll get UND. They split during the regular season, and we already knew the Bison and South Dakota were going to match up in the 4-5. That's the Friday night game at 6 o'clock, followed by the Jackson UND. You're going to tell me right now the Bison game, there's going to be a lot of blue in the stands for that one, since the Jackrabbits are coming up right afterwards.
Yes. So I don't know. I just I look at even St. Thomas, number 2, beatable. Everybody's beatable.
Everybody it is not a dominant team here. Matt Zimmer asked me to do a prediction. I believe he did with you as well. Yep. I picked St. Thomas to win this thing. I think they have overall the best group that they can do it, and that will create. And I'm rooting for chaos if St. Thomas wins.
I think I picked the Jacks.
Yeah, and that's a smart pick. South Dakota State, and It's a home game. The only thing I'll say, they have only done it once where they've had to win the tournament on 3 straight days. Normally they've been the 1 or the 2, so just something to throw in. And they lost Owen Larson, one of their great guards, with a torn ACL at the end of last week. So they're going to be down one of their best guys as well. So the Bison are hurt. The Jacks are hurt. Omaha's healthy, and so is St. Thomas. That's why it tends to maybe the 1 and the 2. Maybe we're overthinking it. Get there to Sunday night.
Again, I just go back to that home court advantage, and it's just such a big deal in that place. The Jacks fans show up. Coyotes, okay.
Yep.
Okay at best. I don't think it's going to be a major home court advantage when they play the Bison. But, the blue and gold, every year they show up there, and a lot of it, I think, has to do with the women's side being the SDSU Invitational every year. It's almost a foregone conclusion.
And that's the perfect segue because SDSU just wrapped up a 3rd straight unbeaten
What do they won,
regular
95
season.
in a row now
They
in
have
the
won
league?
63 consecutive regular season games. Summit League regular season. They've
In
won
the
63.
portal era, too. Think about that.
And they haven't lost anybody. That's AJ has not lost one player.
Now, that's the mystery.
Right.
Including the head coach.
Right. That's the part. South Dakota State is the one. They'll play the winner of Denver and Omaha. UND, by virtue of beating Kansas City at 6-10, UND is the 5 seed, and they'll play St. Thomas. That's the first game on Friday. The Bison will play right after that at about 2:30, 2:45 on Friday afternoon against Kansas City. And then South Dakota with Grace Larkins, and that's I'm going to put a little asterisk out there, Kolpack. I know South Dakota got hammered by ORU, but you've got a player like Larkins that can steal you one game. I keep an eye on that one on Thursday.
I'll say this. I mean, I know ORU is number 2, but I think NDSU has only shot at beating the Jacks because they match up inside better than I think everybody else.
That's a good point. Okay.
Avery Coonan's just been off the charts.
Avery's been amazing. I want to get to that in a
30
second.
30 and what, 14?
Yes, on Saturday. Yep. She had 8 separate 20-point games or more in Summit League play.
And the reason I say that, you need somebody inside to match up against the Page or the Brooklyn Myers of the world. You got to hope maybe they're off.
They were last year.
On the shooting
remember
side of it?
When we were there last year, South Dakota State did not have its best game, and the Bison still couldn't take advantage of that.
It's hard to be off from 10 feet and 5 feet and in.
Yep.
But it's easier to be off from the 3-point line. So if you have somebody defensively that can match up with their bigs inside, you got a shot. You got a chance at it. A chance.
Yeah. Yep.
I know
that's where you're at.
It's like that Dumb and Dumber. You're saying there's a chance.
Maybe
not quite those odds.
I think the Bison could beat Kansas City. If they match up with Oral Roberts, I know they believe they can get ORU. And ORU just forced 30 turnovers on NDSU, and they scored 100. I think at a neutral site, I would like NDSU potentially to get through Oral Roberts. But it's that first game with Kansas City, do not overlook. The Bison did not play well down there. I know they just beat them by 20-some-odd points when they played last week, but they play a different kind of style. This is maybe not the best matchup that the Bison wanted.
You were saying off air it could come down to how it's officiated.
Yes.
Because Kansas City is a little more hand-checking, aggressive, full court.
Yep.
And they got in trouble here last week.
Yeah, the game,
Fall trouble.
The Bison were, right, they had to deal with that on Saturday as well, where Draper was out for a bit. Schulte got into it. Now, we don't know the status of Mariley Simon. I was told it's a dislocated kneecap that Mariley's dealing with. They're going to wait on, obviously, the MRI to see, and that might be today, on if there's any ligament damage. I don't know if she'd be able to play this week. That's a big deal.
Abby Draper got 4 fouls breathing on players.
Really did. I don't do this often. I was not a fan of the officiating on Saturday.
All of a sudden, she's just standing there, and it's like,
yep.
Oh.
Yep.
Thanks for my senior day as you're calling me for breathing on somebody.
I will say, the way they played the last 2 games, that's how Jory Collins, I think, envisioned what this team could look like. They won 19 games, Kolpack. We're hemming and hawing about this. It was how many years ago we were just talking about where the Bison, if they could win 9 games, we'd be happy for them.
Yeah, and they won 19 without their best player who transferred out.
Right.
Al Evans.
Right.
Just think if they had her.
Yep. Then that I would say they'd have a real chance to beat South Dakota State. As it is, you got to get there. You got to get to that last game like they did last year and then take your best chance. Because it's one game.
Do a switch out on the transfer portal. Say Brooklyn Meyer leaves and Al Evans stays.
Well, we're talking a different story.
Then you're talking a different story.
Yeah. SDSU's still good, but they're not won 63 regular season games in a row. Let's give a little shout out here to Avery Coonan because that's the question I had leaving the shack. I had 2 Bison fans stop me and say, well, where's she going to go? And that's obviously the dilemma. Now, I know the Green and Gold Collective has been pretty active with Avery. I think that's the one women's basketball player that they have certainly attached to. I asked Avery about this last year, and after the news that Elle left, and she said, I love it here. I would never consider leaving. I know every player says. Elle Evans told us both that last
with tears
year.
in her eyes.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's a real
and you
concern.
thought it was convincing.
Right?
Also, and a week later, she's out of here.
Dunzo. But that's the real concern. She's a difference maker in a program.
Well,
that's what Coonan is in my mind.
I think word on the street, football is ponied up for the Collective. That's obvious.
Yep.
They've kept their players.
Yep.
They have had people, whether ex-players or not. I just think the alums in the women's basketball program.
I think they got a rude awakening last year because I think they believed, whether right or wrong,
the culture
on your
Yep.
story as well. And Elle's reaction after the Gopher game, well, she'd never leave. And then it was a punch in the face that, so this is real.
Yeah.
I think I believe that's the case for the people you're talking about, that, okay, well, we've got to put our money where our mouth is if we want to keep our best players around.
This isn't 1997 anymore. That's for sure.
No.
It's just a different world, and you either got to embrace it or.
And Dave did that, obviously. And I would imagine he's going to do it again next year. I mean, because they're going to lose. Right, you're going to lose all these guys next year. I would look, if you are free today for basketball fans, to watch that NSIC tournament, because those guys and women that are on the first team, those are that have eligibility. Those are the ones you want to see move up. That's the kind of player that can come to the Summit League like Moni did and be a immediate Summit League difference maker. That's who you're looking for.
And I think Moni Jackson proved that the level of play is closer than most people think with the top players.
Correct. I think you look at the teams that are playing today in Sioux Falls, they could win a lot of ball games in the Summit League, men and women. Not a doubt in my mind.
There's just so many players out there, Dom. I'm talking about AEU, prep players coming up. There's just so many kids out there.
Well, I mean, the fifth place team in the Summit League was 6-10. I mean, come on. How good are we talking
And that
here?
goes for a lot of sports. Volleyball, college JUCO baseball. I saw that. What was it? Dawson Community College, Glendive, Montana. Guys from all over the country.
Yeah.
There's just so many players and kids out there looking to play at that next level. And basketball included.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Who's playing first in the women's championship game? It's South Dakota State versus who?
NDSU.
Okay. Men's side, who you got? I said it's St. Thomas. It's probably going to be St. Thomas SDS or St. Thomas Omaha in the championship. I'm going chalk there.
I'm going South Dakota State Omaha.
Okay. SDSU Omaha for you. Okay. Boy, that'll be a heck of an environment if that's the
Sorry,
case.
Johnny Tower, one of my favorite coaches in the league.
He's a good dude, and we'll see what happens there. We'll break. We come back. We got a ton of football news to get to. It was a busy week on the Bison football front. We'll chat about the change of coordinator and the other moves that Tim Polasek made. With Jeff Kolpack, we come back on a Monday morning edition of Hot Mike. We're back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Email comes in off our last topic. This is a good one. Dom, your discussion of Elle Evans leaving brings up an interesting question about covering college sports. You must be accustomed to pro athletes lying to reporters for a variety of reasons, but has it changed the way you approach college athletes now that you have they can give you a teary-eyed commitment to stay that you report on, then issue a press release or a tweet contradicting that just days later?
Well, maybe at the time she was.
I think she believed it at the time.
Intention.
Yes. Yeah. But I think you take it with a grain of salt. You know what I mean? And like players say this after, I couldn't imagine ever leaving. And, okay, well.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Then there's $60,000 to go transfer. Oh, okay, well, yeah.
And I probably would too.
But I think it's important for us as journalists, broadcasters to relay, and I think we've done a pretty good job at this, like saying, okay, intentions are here, but you never know.
Well,
I think we did that with Bryce Lance. We tried to let that people know on that.
I mean, they give their answer. What are you going to do? Are you sure?
I mean, you can browbeat as best you can, but I mean, I don't
believe you.
Right. I mean, I think my opinion, and I can say that as a host, as a talk show host, I can say, I don't believe a word you're saying. It's a different thing to go and report such things without having verifiable evidence on that.
Yep.
So appreciate that. That's a good email on that. Okay. We got Bison spring ball starting in about 2.5 weeks, and Tim Polasek had to make some coaching moves last week with the Jake Landry departure to go to Iowa State, the Bison offensive coordinator here for one season, departing and going to Iowa State, take Tyler Roll's job of all positions as the running backs coach for Matt Campbell. Quickly on Jake Landry. I thought he did a hell of a job. He was really good as the OC here.
One roll Yahtzee. I mean, it was he pushed the right buttons. He had the right mentality. I like his demeanor.
Yes.
That's what you need.
Yep.
And so in the replacement, I thought we overthought it. I know I did, because you're thinking, okay, who's out there?
I agree
whatever.
with you. I'm with you on that.
And then Dan Larson there,
right there.
And I looked up what he did at Duluth, and they were prolific when he was calling plays at Duluth. They were averaging like 45 points a game,
They were good teams
465 yards or whatever. So he did the job at McAllister, brought that sorry program to unforeseen heights that they never had before. Didn't they lose like 90 games in a row?
They were not
like
good.
that?
Yep.
And so
and he's a former head coach too.
Yeah. So I personally overthought it. It was, and here's the other thing that you'd want to hire from within, and we just talked about it in today's portal, Dom. In today's portal, these players have connections to coaches. They make connections.
Yeah.
They're pretty tight. And when you start throwing upheaval into the staff, there's a spring period where the players could go, okay, I'm out of here.
Yep.
And so that's another reason to promote from within. It keeps harmony within the players. It keeps things consistent. And so they brought in Samuel Jury. He's consistent to the program. He's connected to the program. And so, I thought it was, now that I think about it, it was a no-brainer.
I'm really interested to see Dan as a play caller. We're going to have him on the show later this week on what this is going to be. But, I mean, he's coached the offensive line for the last 5 years. That's worked out pretty good in a spot where he had no O-line experience prior to him getting that. And I was
skeptical.
We talked about that. When he got promoted, when A.J. Blazek left, I'm like, okay, that's an interesting move that Entz made there to make him the O-line coach, and that certainly worked out.
So we were skeptical when he took the O-line job, and he proved us wrong.
Yep.
He proved our skepticism wrong.
Yep.
I didn't know if he's good or bad. He proved our skepticism wrong. Now, NDSU, Tim brings in Dylan Shimura.
Yeah.
So he worked with Dylan. Dylan was his understudy at Iowa. So he knows what he's getting there. There's a Green Bay Packer connection. There's a Wisconsin connection. So I'm sure the players,
and an Iowa connection.
And the players are going, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Another Midwest guy. Yeah, no problem.
Shimura's a rising star.
Seems like it.
Tim specifically mentioned him when the Bison played Tennessee State, that he was on, and that's where Shimura's coming from, is Eddie George's staff, the guy that he's a riser in the college coaching industry. And I think you mentioned this, and I know you talked about it in a radio show and you wrote about it, that Tim had his guys out there. I think he wanted and was hoping for 2 years out of Jake, but if that moved on, he was looking right down his own roster of guys like, okay, this is where I think I can make a move.
I mean, it didn't catch him nothing catches good coach by surprise. He has a plan for everything, and he has a plan for if this guy leaves, this guy, I'm going this guy. I think when Jake left, it was just a matter of, okay, I've already thought this out.
Yep.
I already thought this out if my OC leaves, and so it was natural like that. It's like AD, the athletic director. When a head coach leaves, you should have
a list. You got to.
You should have who do you have in mind already.
Yep. So the other move is Joe Bishawner is now going to be the QB coach, and then that may, for Bison fans that don't know the backgrounds of these guys, like, okay, well, he was coaching the running back or the tight ends and the fullbacks. What kind of does he know about quarterbacks? Well, here's another guy that was an offensive play caller. He was the Mankato OC before he got the job here in Fargo.
Wasn't he the D2 assistant of the year?
He was. And Mankato, by the way, last I checked, good at football. They know what they're doing. So I think Joe will be okay as the new guy taking over.
I know
Randy
he wasn't
Hedberg.
an NFL quarterback, but do you have to be a good NFL or good quarterback
the Bison
coach?
were spoiled at that with Hedberg brought to them for the last 11 years.
Randy will be around too.
Yes.
I mean, if Joe needs something, this or that,
I'm sure Randy would pick up the phone and say, absolutely. And this is a real interesting spot because he's going to be working with a new group here. And I say new, Cole Payton is the presumed starter, and that's something we'll get to when we get closer to spring ball. You've got Nathan Hayes there. You've got Trey Drake as the third-string guy. You got Xander Smith now on campus as well, the freshman that enrolled early.
Yeah, and he's still here after his 30 below, right?
He made it.
Do we know that?
I saw him in a basketball game last week, so he's here. So that's a real interesting group that he's going to get a chance to work with. But that's the now offensive staff. So I guess on the overview, what do you make of what Polisek did here with the changes he had to make?
I think it'll be seamless transition, which is those are the two words that you want, a seamless transition. And if you can have that, I know it seems late, but it's still, they haven't even started spring football yet.
Nope.
And you're largely got guys who have been around. So it seems like it'll be a seamless transition to me. We'll see.
Chimura will get here soon. He'll be the O-line coach. Obviously, Ojuri is the running backs coach. So the offense has the changes. Their defense stays the same, which I think Politic will probably breathe a sigh of relief because I look at Will Johnson and I look at Devin Kleiman, two young guys at the corners and safeties that maybe this time next year, I don't know if they're still here.
They took a young group and turned them into national champions.
Yeah, and that's right. That's where you look at it. I think Will Johnson is a mover in this industry as well. I'd say for Bison fans, enjoy having him on this staff because I'm not sure how long he'll be
And
here.
I always look at what players improved during the year.
Yes.
You look like a guy like Jones.
Ryan Jones and Jalen Duffy jump off the screen to me.
Yep. They
Those
were
two guys.
pretty average players getting remember the Colorado game, you're like, whoa, man.
Well, Jones got benched. I mean,
Yeah.
Jones in the middle part
Yeah.
of the year got benched for Jalen
and
Crumpy.
he was really good in the playoffs.
The last 3 games, right?
Yep.
Yeah, actually, 4 games. The Abilene Christian game, people forget Jones made that tackle on the fake punt that kept ACU from getting a first down. That was a big play.
And so, to me, that's coaching.
Yep. I'd agree with that. So that's the changes there on the Bison football staff as spring football gets ready to get going here in just a couple weeks. Last thing on football, we talked about it off the top of the show. Gray Zabel had another dynamite performance at the Combine. So that's the second check mark, Kolpack. It's the Senior Bowl. He was the best player.
And
Now Combine, he was pretty darn good.
yeah, which NFL analyst said, well, yeah, he was a pitcher in his Legion baseball days and high school baseball days. He was a center fielder and first baseman, too, by the
Well,
way. Don't they ever talk to us?
I was going to say, you saw him up close.
Oh, my
when
goodness,
he was
yeah.
because I remember telling you, like,
Yeah.
hey, the Bison are talking to this kid who's playing in South Dakota.
he's
and you're
sick.
like, oh, I got all the info for it. Because South Dakota
I
State
saw the
offered
athleticism,
South Dakota
yeah.
State offered Gray a baseball scholarship to play in Brookings.
I'm going,
He
man,
went
this is
the
a big
football
dude who was playing one game in center field at a pretty high level, I think. And
What will this do for NDSU now to dine out on the fact they've done this forever on 2 first-round NFL draft quarterbacks? If they have a first-round offensive lineman, what that can do, that's pretty impressive.
and a guy who stayed here who
did.
had offers with Collective for more money.
Blank check, I was told. He had a blank check from one school that you name the number, you got it.
Oh, come on, it wasn't a blank check. Come on.
I'm telling you right now, I was told a blank check from a school. You tell me the number.
20 million?
I know,
Okay.
in within reason here.
Okay.
I would tell you 6 figures, blank
Well,
check.
that's not a blank
Yep.
check if it's within reason.
Well, I'm telling you, that's what I would go to.
All right.
I would. You talk about verifiable reporting. That one I'm verified on that. That one I will tell you. But point is, he decided to turn away other offers and stay. And now, boy, the Bison could have that as a first round off. I mean, we've seen it with Radens was a second round pick. Volson went in the 4th round. You had Cody go in the 2nd round. Now this,
Even if he's an early second round, by staying around, he'll still get that money back, we believe. And
Yeah.
I mean, he could have been like
I
this
don't
somewhere
think
else.
I don't think he's going the 2nd round. I think he's gonna be a first round pick.
Okay.
I think the
He'll be just
momentum is
fine.
that.
It was financially,
Oh,
it'll
gosh,
turn
yeah.
out just fine.
yes, it'll be a-okay.
That 600,000 is he's not going to notice the difference.
No.
Well, maybe he will. He's a farm guy who knows
Well,
every.
and he's got his own farm.
I know.
So he's already got his
So
own farmland.
he knows
out there,
accounting. He
right?
knows accounting.
Exactly right. He is a smart man, and it's going to be huge. Pro Day's coming up on March 27th. Cam Miller will be back for that, and this will be
Why-
really interesting for that.
Do we know why Gray didn't do the 40?
He's battling a little bit of an injury that he had in the Senior Bowl.
Okay.
They said that. So it's a minor thing. I'd be intrigued if he runs it here, if he feels healthy enough, or if his agents tell you know what, Hayes in the barn, we're good to go.
That's
I don't
a good point.
You know?
Yeah, you don't want to go. You don't want to run it hurt and,
Right.
and turn in a 5.3.
Correct. You don't want to hurt yourself on that. Marquise Siegel, by the way, I don't know
Yeah,
if you
saw
saw what
that.
he did, ran a
Yeah, he
4.37.
could start here, Dom.
Well, see, people throw that up, but you had Dawson Weber and
I
Michael
know.
Tutsi.
I'm joking.
Are you benching those? I mean, that's the.
Don't you understand sarcasm?
I got it, but Bison fans have said that to me when I tweeted that out. Like, oh, he couldn't play here. Okay, you're going to bench those 2 guys who
No.
are 6-year dudes?
No.
No. And that, again, he went good for him. He went and played, and Kleiman got the best out of him. He's going to be a day 3 NFL draft pick. And Matt Entz, by the way, can say, we recruited him. to North Dakota State.
He wasn't really even that highly recruited, was he? I mean, he was okay.
Out of Omaha, he had a bunch of FCS offers.
Yeah.
He had a bunch of FCS offers.
It wasn't like he had Nebraska on his doorstep.
I will tell you this, though, because I remember Entz telling me that crazy COVID fall that he could start for us right now. He said that in the fall of 2020. He's that good of a player, and obviously that bore out. So for the people that always were hammering Entz that he couldn't recruit, I think hopefully we can put that story to bed because he got Marty Brown and Marquis Siegel. Those two guys pretty good out of Omaha.
I've never been a part of that story.
No, I know you haven't, but that is a theme out there for some Bison fans on that. So anyway, we got to roll.
All right.
Safe travels this week. I will see you in Sioux Falls on Friday. Jeff Kolpack joining us each and every Monday at 10 o'clock. We'll break. We come back. We're heading to Sioux Falls for our next guest. Matt Merkin will join us. Minot State men's basketball coach. Beavers have a showdown with the national champs later today in Mankato. We'll preview that when Hot Mike returns. Coming up after this.